What up, community? It is your girl, Jay Gill, here for another episode of In a Few Words, hosted by me, Jay Gill. I am your homie for all things community, culture, and communications. And today I'm really excited to talk about memoir. Now, memoirs come in various form, whether it's personal narratives, and I think nowadays it could be anything. I apologize, my phone is beeping. Uh, could come in many forms, and there have been probably millions upon millions of memoirs that have been written, published, and probably some that aren't. If you think about your diary, that could be used as possible memoirs. We see with the Diary of Anne Frank, great book if you haven't read it. Um, or it could be a piece that comes together after a very long, beautiful life, like Cicely's Tyson I Am. So for me, memoirs are super important. Diary of Anne Frank is actually the first memoir that I read as a child. And by child, I mean a young teen in junior high. Shout out to my English teacher, Miss Jacksina. She definitely made sure that we always got different taste of books, and memoir was definitely one of those genres where you could look at a piece of someone's life, get some historical and cultural context, and just see the way that they lived. For me, memoirs are super important because they're like an easy way to have a conversation with someone about their life and to learn from, I don't want to say their mistakes, but to learn from their experiences. And yes, mistakes are part of those experiences, but there's so many things. I sometimes think of the book that I have next to me, Rich Dad Poor Dad, as like a financial memoir of someone that's kind of like trying to figure out certain things. And though they don't necessarily go personal into detail about their life, you do kind of see how he talks about the poor dad and the rich dad, making these financial decisions and these financial aspects and views and how it changes them. So, just to give you a brief definition of what a memoir is, according to literaryterms.net, memoir comes from the French word memory. I'm assuming memoir. I'm not great at French, y'all. Don't come for me. But it is a genre of literature where the author writes, or collaborative author, as I am, writes about his or her memories, usually going back to their childhood or specific events in their life. It could be something as specific as living in World War II, as we saw with the Diary of Anne Frank, or living through the 60s or 70s, or maybe just living in a time period that we weren't in. Maybe it was the 1800s. I don't know. There's memoirs everywhere, but it's really about capturing that person's life within a specific time and exploring the in and outs of it. For me, memoir holds such a special place in my heart because as someone who is or was very quiet, can't be quiet if I'm on the speaker now, but for someone who is an observer and learns from observation and learns from communicating with people and learns from people's stories, memoir to me is like the go-to for all my things, whether it's understanding spiritual growth, um, trying to feel inspired in creativity and even fashion. There's always a story. And I'm a firm believer that everybody has a story, whether we say it or not, whether we speak it to other people, whether we acknowledge it on our own. Everyone has a story. And memoir is one of those catalysts that can bring into someone's world, into someone's mind, to see how they move, to see their perspective, to understand their whys. Why did they do this? Why did they go here? What were they afraid of? And memoir for me is such a special genre where yes, there's some creativity. You can be creative, and I don't want to say make up the things that happen, but you could kind of make up certain things that happen around it. I've been learning as a ghostwriter, collaborative writer. I like the term collaborative because your girl is collaborating a lot. Um, it takes time to kind of dive into your whys. It takes time into understanding your perspective. And when you're trying to go back, let's all do a test here. Try to go back to the time that you were 5 and a moment that impacted you. There are things that stay with you that are true. Your feelings, what you saw, what your mind picked up, I'm going to say, because there are things that we miss in everyday life, but those are true. The things that are true to you are true, and those are the things that get put into the memoir. But other things like color someone's bicycle that passed by you when you got told that you were ugly by the school bully, or the pictures that were hanging on the wall in your grandmama's house when the fire happened, if they were necessarily important to you or has some significance in your memory or your life, those are kind of things you could kind of, elaborate on, right? But there is a thin line between making up a story, which then becomes fiction, and keeping true to the story, keeping true to your truth, which makes it nonfiction. And I hope I didn't mess that up, because then, yikes. But for me, that's really where the difference lies, is where is the truth? What truth of the story is being told? What are you getting across? And like I've mentioned, memoir for me is just kind of my way of sitting down with the person whose mind I want to explore and what they saw, to really get a sense of who they are. So during these next few episodes, or this season as I'm promoting it in my internal self, there are some books that we are going to dive into, because they have just meant so much in my life and have given me a perspective on how I could carry myself, or the things I could do, or even just the the power to persevere, which a lot of us struggle with. We are living in the days of cancel culture, of, again, books being banned, of things that we are trying to do to help ourselves, empower ourselves and support others, that are being taken away, banned, or being told that it's all a lie. And memoirs are a great piece of written knowledge that we can always look back and also get a sense of what's been going on, get a sense of people's truth, get a sense of what's been happening in the world that's maybe outside of our world, outside of our neighborhood, outside of maybe our internal family dynamics that we don't have access to. So I'm a big, 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 big believer in, every now and then picking up a memoir from somebody you don't know, or for someone that might inspire you when you're feeling down. That has been something that has carried me over, especially within the last few years of my adulthood, to be able to look at a memoir and kind of sit myself with this person and say, how did you get here? Especially those that have maybe achieved things that were so like, wow, this is crazy. How did you get to be this famous person? Or how did you create this innovation? Or how did you become a leader? Memoirs are a good way for us to kind of dive in and understand the person's personal story, and also learn to aspire our own story. So that is my spiel on memoir, why I love memoir. I will be sharing soon some of my favorite books on memoir, so stay tuned and let me know, what are yours? What does memoir or the written word mean to you? And if you are a writer, how do you explore that? How do you face, telling your truth when maybe ain't nobody was trying to hear back then? Or maybe somebody is the bad person in your memoir, and how do you get around that? As a collaborative writer, those are questions that I have with the person that I'm working with, and those are things that we talk about even with your families, because when you put out a piece of writing, especially when it's coming from your personal story, your narrative, oh, there are people that want to know. Okay, they want to know where they fit in into your story. And let me tell you a good piece of advice to end this show. If you are worried about how you would end in someone's story, think about how you're treating. Okay, I know I am somebody's bad character in their story, but I'm pretty sure I could pull up some receipts. Okay. Well, with that being said, y'all, I am Jake Gill. Thank you for watching another episode on In a Few Words, and I will catch you on the other side. Until next time, y'all, peace.